Hello, this is Spellbinder with this alert from Vision to America. The Common Sense Gun Lobby, Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms, put out a alert today. It says UN going after all privately owned firearms. You're right, to own firearms is hanging on a thread, it says. In its most ambitious effort yet, the UN and the Obama regime are working together to pass arms trade treaty to control and or ban all privately owned firearms. The anti-gun nuts are holding secret meetings to craft a slew of restrictive gun laws known as the Arms Trade Treaty. This progressive background treaty could become international law as soon as 2012. The globalist gun agenda wants to disarm the world one gun at a time. Take action now to protect your gun rights, or lose them and become Australia, Britain, where the crime rate skyrocketed there. And the Orwellian's term, stomping heads forever, is becoming a reality in those countries. The crime rate shot up in Australia and it shot up in Britain as soon as they got all the legal citizens who wanted to keep guns, got them away from them. Now the only people that's got them is the criminals. And the criminals don't care about laws. That's the fact. The people that do have guns, there is no criminals, because the criminals are scared. They're as scared to be shot as anyone else. And if you got a gun or they suspect you have a gun, they're not going to bother you. That's why in a lot of places like down in Florida, there was rapes going on in this one town in Florida, and guess what? They allowed all the women to carry concealed guns. Guess what? There was no more rape in that town. Amazing, huh? Wow. Anyways, this is what's going on. It says Allen and his wife Julianne have been on the front lines fighting the anti-gunners at the UN in June. Allen and Julianne worked to veto anti-Second Amendment language in the Small Arms Treaty. Both Allen and Julianne attended the NGO, which is a non-governmental organization, delegates. It's no surprise that the NGO representatives were told that they would be shut out of most of the meetings. Clearly, the UN doesn't want anyone interfering with their passage of this bill. Allen and Julianne can't win this war against gun rights alone. And this is what they've gotten so far from the UN. The UN wants all firearms subject to international law. Ooh, look at that. We're losing our sovereignty right now. The Arms Trade Treaty could prohibit firearms and ammunition manufacturers from selling to the public, prohibit any transfer of firearm ownership, require U.S. citizens to deliver any banned firearms they own to local government collection and destruction centers, or face imprisonment. Wow, to be free, you gotta give up your guns. Require micro-stamping on all guns. Destruction of excessive firearms. Wow. If the United States signs this treaty and it is ratified by the U.S. Senate, the UN Arms Trade Treaty will become law, or the law. The UN propaganda machine is hard at work churning out manipulated facts. The UN says guns murder hundreds of thousands of people a year. Well, the UN conveniently forgot to leave out the fact that guns save lives. Each year, firearms are used 80 times more often to protect the lives of innocent citizens than to take lives. And the U.S. crime rates are the highest where gun laws are the most restrictive, like New York City, L.A. Just look at the big cities and see where they got the biggest gun restrictions, and that is where you got the biggest crime rates. The UN socialists claim that illegal guns used in armed conflicts kill 300,000 people a year. Again, the UN decided to leave out the evidence that armed conflicts aren't always necessarily bad. I guess the gun haters need to brush up on their American history and learn about a little thing called the American Revolution. Our founding fathers fought for freedom from a tyrannical and abusive government. If there was an arms trade treaty in 1776, our country wouldn't exist today. The UN believes that if we take away guns from all insurgents, our world would be a safer place. Wrong. Our founding fathers were considered insurgents. The UN erroneously thinks that anyone fighting for freedom is a threat. Guns protect citizens from governments who abuse their power. The only thing keeping the United States from turning into a Marxist socialist regime is our right to keep and bear arms. With a guy like Obama in power, it's terrifying to think what would happen to our country if we didn't have our Second Amendment rights. We must act now to preserve our right to protect ourselves and our families from an oppressive government at the state and federal level. That is what is at stake here. If the UN Armed Treaty passes, progressives will be able to assume total control of our country. And this is not a fight we can afford to lose. And that was this alert letter from the Citizen Committee on the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. Now let's go to the actual web page of Citizen Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms and read some of the headlines or the new releases. And here they are. The third year of falling crime proves gun grabbers wrong. This is on Tuesday, September 14, 2010. Bellevue, Washington. For the third straight year, violent crimes have declined in all categories while gun sales climbed. Gun ownership expanded and more citizens are carrying firearms for personal protection. Proof positive that gun prohibitionists have been consistently and undeniably wrong, the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms said today. San Francisco eyes ammunition registry. Bellevue, Washington. Another revelation that the city of San Francisco might consider an ammunition registry scheme brought a promise from the Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep the Bear Arms that a lawsuit would quickly follow. I said I'll have the link to this page at the bottom and you'll be able to read these headlines, articles. Most Americans agree with SCOTUS, says cities can't ban handguns. A new Rasmussen poll showing a majority of Americans believe cities cannot ban handguns goes along with what we have been saying and what the Supreme Court affirmed. The Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep the Bear Arms said today the High Court ruled in its 2008 Heller decision that the handguns cannot be outlawed because it's your right to protect yourself, basically. Democrats attempt to buy off NRA shows bankruptcy of Disclosure Act, says the Citizens. It says this week's highly publicized effort to exempt the National Rifle Association from the effects of the Disclosed Act, H.R. 5175, shows how fundamentally bankrupt the legislation and its underlying philosophy is. The attempt for Democrats to essentially buy off the NRA. That's why you should be with Gun Owners of America. Forget the NRA. They've been bought and sold out to the special interest gun-grabbing lobbyists. England shooting proved fallacy of restrictive gun laws. Wednesday, a mass shooting in northwest England is more proof that restrictive gun laws do not prevent horrible criminal acts. The Citizen Committee says. Wire service, the British news agency reported, said 12 people are dead and 25 people are wounded and suspected gunman Derek, what's his name? I can go into that, but this is just the headline, so you'll get an idea of what's going on here. I said you'll have a chance to read this when I put the link at the bottom of this video. Obama would have prosecuted Chicago man for defending himself with a handgun. An 80-year-old Chicago man who defended himself and his family from a neighborhood thug this week could be criminally prosecuted if Obama had prevailed in the 2004 Illinois state legislative vote on a measure to protect citizens who use handguns in self-defense even when their communities ban handguns. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to do it like the guy was shooting the gun up in the air. He already shot it in the ground. It was an AK-47. He had about 20 gang members outside his home, and he shot in the ground to disperse them, and then the cops come and arrest him. That sounds very, very un-American to do something like that. Instead of going after the people that were the criminals, they went after him who had the gun, trying to protect his home and family. It's very sad in America they get away with this. Let's see, the latest FBI crime data continues to refute anti-gun rhetoric, says Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms. For the third year in a row, violent crime has declined in the United States while increasing numbers of American citizens own firearms and are licensed to carry, a trend that believes predictions of anti-gunners that more guns will result in more crime. It's the FBI's own report saying, nope, that's not happening. Omaha Walgreens hero still being denied right to self-defense. Amazingly, these people are so anti-American that's doing this. They're anti-American, for your own safety. I mean, they're anti-Fourth Amendment. You're allowed to protect yourself. Period. And then they're taking away your Fourth Amendment right. That's what this comes down to. Nebraska Firearms Owner Association today called on the city of Omaha to end its practice of registering firearms in the wake of a case involving a private citizen who fatally shot an armed robber who continues to be denied the ability to register a new firearm by Omaha. Let's see. Support legislation to correct onerous D.C. gun laws. The Citizens Committee for the Right to Keep and Bear Arms today said a bipartisan bill introduced by Senator Joan Tester and John McCain that would repeal most gun laws in the District of Columbia would not be necessary if district officials had lived up to the 2008 Supreme Court ruling. See, it's like we got things saying it's okay, and they're turning around and saying, no, we're taking it all away. This is how UN is taking over the country. People don't realize it, but the UN is trying to be our new government. They want this world government, and the world government means you don't have anything and they have it all, and that's just not gonna fly. It's just not gonna fly here in the U.S. The Oakland, California is proposing more anti-gun ordinances. See, they're trying to take away more guns. So the criminals will have more guns, and there'll be more people getting shot by criminals, and criminals getting away with murder. Hey, it's the American communist way, I guess. Instead of the American republic way. People, we are a republic. I hope you wake up and smell the republicanism of our country. We're not a democracy. Democracy says 51% say that you will be taken out and executed. You will be taken out and executed. That's a democracy. Now, under a republic, there's things in there that keeps 51% from saying take you out and hang you. So they want this democracy, and it's going to turn around and bite them in the butt when we demand the government to be taken out and punished. And it's going to be over 70% of us saying it. And it's going to be like, well, you want democracy. Now you get to feel what you've been wanting us to be under. Mob rule. Anyways, if we don't stop this, we're going to lose this country. Just like we lost Britain and Australia to their gun laws. They're under control. They're using more and more restrictions on their people. They're taking away all their rights. I mean, in Britain, you get fined for anything. Your garbage can lid's crooked, you get fined. If you put too much in there, you get fined. If you're driving too fast, you get fined. It's just wrong. They're just going to have to wake up themselves and fight for their own. Canada's already taking a list. I heard one guy said, well, we're taking a list of all our officials that are doing the wrong things and getting their addresses and everything together and handing it out to everyone, saying these are the people who are the real criminals. If they start to take everything from us, we know who they are and where they live. And I guess we're going to have to start making a list of all of our officials too, just so we'll know where they live and who they are, so we can do the same thing when they just go nuts and start taking everything from us and trying to stomp the American people's heads into the ground forever. We're just going to stand up and just take them out, and it'll be the end of it. And we won't have this problem anymore. I mean, this is what they're forcing us to, but they're not realizing one is not going to just outright just start going out and having a civil war. It's going to be nice and orderly. When we do it, it's not going to be this. That's not going to be what they want. Let's put it that way. It's going to be on our terms, not theirs. Until next time, this is Spellbinder with this update report alert on gun grabbers of the world trying to take away our rights to bear arms and have free speech and all the other rights that we supposedly have that they're saying we don't have now. I'll say my goodbyes here, and you all have a good day. Check this article out on this website, articles, and have a good day. Thank you.